All right, everyone, and welcome to our interview with Dragon, the first ever Hex Primal Immortal Championship tournament winner. Dragon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
So, Dragon, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's the Hex community know who you are and what your background is in TCGs.
I'm a 32-year-old physics teacher on the East Coast in North Jersey. My background with TCGs is I played Magic back in middle school. Didn't have the money or the way to get to events. Plus, all my friends got in on the ground floor years before that, and I didn't. So I transitioned over to playing Pokemon because it had just come out, and I could get in with like the base set, and that was really exciting. But again, no money, couldn't get to events. Kind of let TCGs fall by the wayside. Came out of college. A few years after college, fell back into Magic. I have money. I have a way to get to events. Got into competitive Magic, but found that I wasn't so great at playing the game as I was at understanding the rules. Became a member of the judge community, still a member of the Magic judge community, still play casually. But when Hex rolled around, I saw the Kickstarter. It was really good timing for me. I had just actually pared down my Magic collection and decided to take some of that funding and throw it at Hex. So I was a Kickstarter backer at the King tier and 2 at the Pro Player tier. So I've got drafts on drafts on drafts for life. And it's kind of just rolled from there. I play Hex whenever I've got free time. It fits into my schedule anytime I want it to, and I can make time for big events and still stay at home.
Wow, that's an amazing story. So, triple Kickstarter backer, 3 drafts a week, and definitely making the most out of it. So, how did you prepare for the Immortal Championship tournament?
The Immortal queue is almost exclusively what I did. I ended up just first thing I did was start with the deck I had enjoyed before it got banned out of Standard, which was Titania's Majesty. So I had earned my first few tickets that way, but I was having problems. It was inconsistent. It didn't some matches just felt like I had no chance, and sometimes my hands felt like they were impossible. So I switched over and tried the Hideous Conversion decks because I've always been a combo player at heart. And again, it was just inconsistent. Like some games, just I felt like I was totally in the driver's seat. In some games, I'm just like waiting, and it's just not going to happen. I probably went through another 2 or 3 decks. I went through a One-Eyed Open deck that I really liked. I really liked the idea of playing, with some, a champion nobody else was using, or it felt like nobody was, and with some unique mobilized cards. But again, inconsistency problems. Eventually, in the meantime, between playing Immortal, I was playing in Standard. I loved Copycat from the minute I saw it. I loved Empress from the minute I saw that card. Found this deck, via the forums and seeing other people playing it, and just fell in love. Super consistent. Decided to kind of just give it a go in Immortal, see if it, if it has any legs there. And I found that it did exactly what I wanted. It was consistent, and it was beating a lot of the things I was otherwise struggling with. I could get under control players. I could hold off aggro players. It's consistent in what it does, and it has legs against basically anything in the format.
All right, sounds good. So let's take a look at the deck that you actually won with. So again, basically a standard deck consisting of 4 Copycats, 4 Skittering Cultivators, 4 Warp Steel Shardsworn. Those are socketed with the Minor Sapphire Dread, which would requires a Sapphire Threshold, 2 charges to create 2 Dreadlings and put them into play. The Empress of Ice, which you mentioned before, 4 of those, 4 Tribunal Magistrates, 4 Commander Prompts. For your actions, you had 4 Consult the Talon, 4 Arcane Focus, 3 Transmogrifade, and the rest of the resources on the screen. Tell us what you like about this deck, how it works. So maybe if we have some new players who may be a little interested in this deck, what is the synergies and what do you like about it?
Well, I mean, the synergies are right off. First off, I love that it's 4-ofs. I'm going to see the cards. I don't have to worry about 1-ofs and when I'm going to see them or if I'm going to see them. I've got 2 very solid 2-drops. I'm happy to see either of them. Arcane Focus early game is going to find me one of my 2-drops. Even if I have to wait till turn 3, a magistrate on 3 just sometimes applies pressure in that if you're doing too much without dealing with it, you're filling up your deck with spiders. The real goal is, if you can curve out, play a 2-drop, play a 3-drop, turn 4. Depending on what you need, either you're going to try and really apply pressure, play a prompt, ideally copycat it, or if you need to hold down what they're doing, you play Empress, Shard, activate power. You've tapped down exhausted 2 of their guys, and now you copycat the Empress because you're at 5 threshold, and now they've got to deal with 2 Empresses before they can untap anything, and it just really messes with a lot of boards.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about your reserves, because right now we're basically seeing what is a traditional standard mono sapphire deck. But as we go into the reserves, we notice something very interesting. You have 3 flocks of seagulls, a mad robomancer, and for your actions, 2 treacherous pass, 3 arcane zephyr, 1 transmography, 2 sapphire's favor, and 3 verdants of the ancient kings. So tell me, how did you reserve in, or did you reserve in Flock of Seagulls, and did it play a part in any of your matches?
I believe there was one matchup where I brought in Flock of Seagulls. Flock of Seagulls came about during my testing in the queue. I found I struggled immensely and just had absolutely no way to beat decks that played Hierophant with double damage gem. I just couldn't deal with them. They would double damage gem. I think it was the Spirit of Rage or Rage of Battle, the deal double on Gen with Crush.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing I could do. And I'm like, what? I need a better answer. It's got Spell Shield on the Hierophant. I can't deal. And I looked through all the answers, and without adding another threshold, Flock of Seagulls was the answer. It stops Crush in its tracks. And a lot of players, I think, because they get confused with Magic, think that they're just going to, crush over a Flock of Seagulls, with their 20 some odd damage, and Flock just stops them dead. And even if they know what's going on, still sometimes there's just nothing they can do about Flock of Seagulls, because most of those decks aren't playing targeted removal because they just plan to run you over.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very smart inclusion. And this technically makes your deck immortal because it does have a card from one of the first 2 sets with Shards of Fate. So really cool there. So going back to the main deck, during your matchups, were there anything really exciting, or how did it progress from the beginning of the tournament up to the top 8? How were your matches with this deck?
Almost all my matches were give and take. I think I had I had 1 loss in the Swiss, which was went down 1-2, and I had 1 match that was a 2-0. But everything else, including my top 8, were all 2-1. Everything went to 3. They were all back and forth. Even if one game here or there, somebody drew bad and it just was a quick end. Almost all my matches at some point had a grindy, either one of us needed a good top deck, one of us needed to make a good play. There was just a lot of individual exciting play. I think my toughest matchups, the only deck I believe I saw twice was Grandfather Elk, Mono Wild. And that can be a really challenging match for me because Crocosaurs can really mess up my game. There's nothing I can do when a Crocosaur comes down and eats my Magistrate and my Empress, or a Magistrate and an exhausted prompt, and then I'm just it's all sad faces here.
Well, that's good, but ultimately you ended up making the top 8 and going to the finals and taking the first ever Hex Primal Immortal Championship tournament. What was your thoughts on winning? I mean, how did you feel about that after taking that win? What were your emotions like?
Oh man, I was so excited. I was I was basically running around the house like a little kid at Christmas. I was like, I can't believe it. I mean, to get through how little expectation I had actually agreed to cook family dinner that day. I figured, okay, I'm going to join the event. I'll probably be out by round 4 or 5. No big deal. And round 4 or 5, I'm like, I'm still extremely in it. I'm, X1. oh man, I promised to make my family dinner. So I would finish my match and then, have my volume turned as loud as I could to make sure I would hear the announcement for the next round. And I would go up and do a little dinner prep and then run back down, play a match, go upstairs, cook dinner. And I managed to do that through 3 rounds, including eating dinner.
Wow. So you cooked an entire family dinner and won the tournament all in one day.
Yeah, it's the great thing about X. Being able to just go about your life while you're still playing game, even in a major tournament. But yeah, I didn't expect, I had pretty low expectations for myself, so I was super stoked to get to top 8. So I was playing really tough competition, really tight games, and man, it's still, I can't believe I managed to take it down. I was really impressed that I was able to get it done, and with a deck that as I saw a lot of Twitch commentating, really it's a standard. Somebody's in the top 8 with a standard deck.
Well, ultimately it paid off to you and you won the tournament. Again, congratulations for that. So for any aspiring Immortal player coming in and seeing how well you did and with the deck you have, what experience or knowledge or any advice you can give to any hopeful Immortal players looking to get to that championship like you did?
The best thing I can say is just, play in the queue a lot. You're going to see a lot of different decks playing in the queue, and you have to realize any of those decks could end up in the tournament. Again, over the course of 11 rounds with the top 8, I played 9 unique champions worth of decks, and even some of the decks that were close still had individualized tech. Like 2 different mono wild decks had very different tech underneath. So, be prepared for a wide variety of matches. And the second is Immortal's a really young format. There's only 2 sets not in standard that are in Immortal. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If something works in standard, see if you can tweak the deck you like playing in standard and make it work in Immortal. I mean, that's basically what I did. And there was not much tweaking as we already discussed.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you, Dragon, for taking the time to talk to us today. Congratulations on your win. I'm assuming you're going to be ready for this Saturday. You're competing in the tournament?
Yeah, luckily I had taken most of May off because it was busy season at work. But I actually just got my 20th ticket today, so I'll be there Saturday.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you don't have to cook dinner again. Maybe this time you can have someone else do it, and you can focus on the tournament
this time.
All right. Thank you again, Dragon, and congratulations on your win. And maybe we'll see you again in the top 8 or maybe even championship this Saturday.
That'd be great.
Thanks.